Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through a local variable in Terraform, right? Basically, what is local variable and why it is useful, right? Uh, personally, I use a local variable a lot when I want to call my module. Let's say when I put a module together and I want to call my module, I use a local variable a lot. And also, this is being used when you have your main.tf and you just want to define a variable within your main.tf and use it. You can also create that and also call a local variable. And also be warned a little bit, right? Because that's this one mistake that I did in the past and something that I was also thinking, like in other programming language. Let's say when we say something is local, for instance, in Bash script, we'll have something called a global variable and also a local variable. When you define something global, you can use that in any function. And also when you define it local, you can only use it within that function, right? I mean, a variable that you define within the function cannot be used outside that function. That means in another function. I was also thinking like, let's say you define a local variable in one TF vars, you cannot refer that variable in another Terraform file, which is in the same directory, right? That is not true. When I tested it, I basically realized that even though you define it locally in one Terraform file, in one TF file, within the same directory, you can refer the same variable in another TF file, in another CF file, right? That means this when we say local, it doesn't apply. It does not really work the same thing like what you think in other programming languages. With Bash scripting, we say a variable is local and you think that you cannot use it in other configuration file, right? In Terraform, you use it. That is kind of possible. Now, if you click on this gear icon, I'm going to open an example that we'll be using. And I will make sure that I also kind of link this one to the description below so that if you want to go ahead and follow the same step that I'm doing, you can go ahead and check out the repository and open it, check out the repository, grab the code, and you can deploy the same code that I basically have here. Right here, I don't really want to I don't like to check my code through GitHub. I always like to kind of copy this link and I will go to my terminal here, move where the code is. I'm here in the root of this repository and I will seed it to that specific path. And I will go ahead and tap PWD to make sure that I am, PWD, make sure that I am on Terraform, that's the local variable, and I will type code here to open. Now, as you guys can see here, I have my main.tf. And in main.tf, what I was trying to explain earlier is this. You might have multiple TF file here, right? And in here, you define your local variable here in this main.tf. And let's say you have another file again, and you want to reference a variable that was defined here in this main.tf. Yes, that is possible. And initially, when I myself personally, I learned Terraform, I was thinking that if you define a local variable here and you create another TF file here and you're trying to reference this local variable in there, it is not going to work. And that assumption was not true. And when I tested it, I noticed that it is still going to work, right? Just be careful with that. Don't think like me. Now, this is how we basically define a local variable, right? I have my main.tf, and here I have this one kind of called a local. And in here, I kind of define the instance configuration that I want to use. And how am I going to kind of refer this thing here and use it to create a resource here, which is an EC2 instance? Be careful again. This is something that a lot of folks will make a lot of mistakes because you always define a local variable with a keyword called locus. with this keyword here called locus. And in here, you have an instance configuration, right? This can be defined like this. You can either just define it like this. Instead of doing fancy stuff, you can do it like this. And you don't really need to have this instance configuration. You can just define your local variable just like this. That is fine. You can define it just like this. That is fine. But let's say you have multiple stuff. You don't just have, this one is cool if the only thing that you want to deploy here is just an EC2 instance. Let's say you have a block of code here to create a VPC, another block of code here to create maybe an EKS control plane. That is where this become very handy, where you use a local and you say this configuration here will be only for EC2 instance, which means you can copy this block of code, you put it here. You say this one will be for EKS configuration, and you put all variables that you need for EKS here. Let's say you have another one here. You can copy this one and say this one here, it is for VPC, where you put all VPC configuration in here, right? As you guys can see, this one, it is more better, where you can kind of define and categorize every single thing that you want here, right? For visibility and so on. And let's see if you just define it like this, right? Which means when you define for EC2 instance here, maybe you might kind of put a comment here and say, okay, right, you want to start EKS here. And when you're done, you can put another one here and say you want to start the VPC here, so that you will not mix everything. And here you want to kind of say, hey, this configuration here, it is for EC2, right? AC for EC2. You guys can see that it is better that you use the first example, which is this one, instead of using the second example, which is like, it can be a little bit confusing if you don't basically say, hey, EKS configuration start here, VPC variable start here, and so on. And that is why I basically decided to use this one, because sometimes somebody will ask me, what will be the difference between this and also this one, right? That is the main difference here. You just want to categorize every single thing based on, you put a category and say this is for EC2 instance. This set of variables here are for EKS, and this set of variables here are for VPC. I will not save this. Let me go ahead and just say done save. If you click on that again, if you click on that, we'll just go ahead now and see how we can reference this. Let me go ahead and wipe this one out. How can we reference this now? Now, when you have a local variable, how can you reference this? Please do not make this mistake, because I've seen this a lot. A lot of people have error, because here, like I mentioned, local variable is defined with the keyword called locus. But when you want to refer that, there is no S. Locus here is plural, which means we can have multiple. But here we are getting one element out of all this. That is why there is no S. We say local dot EC2 underscore config, EC2 underscore config. That means we are going to EC2 configuration. If there were EKS configuration, we say EKS underscore config, and we grab whatever we want. If there were VPC, we say VPC underscore local dot VPC underscore config, and we get whatever we want. Here, we just have just one category, and that is why it's always instance underscore config. And what did I want? Here, I want the AMI, which means it will go and grab this value. Here, I want the instance type, it will grab this value. Here, I want the key name, it will grab the key name, and so on. And here also we have the root device, which means it will come and grab this root device. And here we have the tag. It will go ahead and kind of grab all this tag and bunch it here, right? And if you guys can see here, the value of this EC2 instance, the name is hard-coded, which means if this one was a module, what will happen here is that the name will always be this, right? That is this. We have a special way that we can kind of handle this by using what we will call a merge tag, where we can kind of merge tag here using another keyword in Terraform called format, right? If you really want to know how to manage that efficiently, you can let me know in the comment below so that I will go ahead and shoot the video and explain how to do that. Let me go ahead here and kind of open my terminal here and test this. Now, let us go ahead and kind of test this and trigger this code and see how it looks like, right? And right now, this is just the example that we'll be using here, which is this main.tf. This is another example here. If you really want to check this one out, it is similar, right? It is really similar, but it's the one that I basically explained, that here you might have just one resource, which is an EC2 instance. That means you don't want to categorize everything, and you can use like a pound sign here. And here we basically use the example where we want to categorize everything in case we have multiple resources that we want to deploy. If you open a command line here, I can go ahead here and type Terraform init, like to just initialize this. And after that, we'll go ahead and kind of plan this. And we'll go ahead here and apply to see if it's going to create an EC2 instance as expected. I'll hit yes. And if we hook over to AWS and check, we'll see that one EC2 instance is kind of coming up. If you refresh, we have one EC2 instance that is pending, and the name is called VM, right? And when this is done, we'll go ahead and destroy it. It's kind of taking more time as expected, right? It's taking more time, and very soon we'll see that here. And when that is created, I will go ahead and destroy that. And if you click here, can you check the tag here? You go see here that that is what we define, right? And all the elements that I have in here is like the VPC ID, the subnet ID, those are hard-coded, and I basically grab all this from my AWS account, and those are already predefined. And we can always use Terraform to create all this, right? But the purpose of this is not to learn how to create maybe a security group or how to create a VPC and so on. It's just how to use a local variable efficiently. That was deploy, and I will go ahead here and type Terraform destroy. When you kind of deploy something in Terraform, in AWS using Terraform, make sure that at the end, you always destroy that, right? So that you won't get charged by AWS. And I hope this video was really informative. That's it for this video, and I will see all of you guys next time. Bye-bye.